Okay, so you've lost about 300 grams of fat in each arm.
And about a kilogram in each leg.
In each leg.
Wow.
Yeah, a kilogram of fat down in each leg. Being a woman in a really demanding career, you know the feeling when work literally takes over everything else. And you say that you're going to get back to exercise when things calm down, but they never really do. That's basically what happened with one of my clients. She spent 5 years doing her actuarial exams, and in that time, exercise was not a priority. Doing exams for 5 years straight whilst also working full time to become a fully qualified actuary was a lot on her plate. But then she finally qualified and she wanted to prioritise herself a little bit more, which is when we started working together. But she just spent the last 5 years sacrificing her social life to become qualified, and what we didn't want to do was then sacrifice all of her social life to try and get fitter. So we took a very gradual approach so that she could still go on all her holidays, go out for all her celebratory drinks and dinners, and in 6 months we got her down 5% body fat. So when we started, she basically had 5 years where exercise wasn't done regularly. The only thing really that she was doing was reformer Pilates. So we're really just starting from a place of trying to create a consistent routine with exercise before we change everything else as well. She hadn't really done any strength training before, only sometimes in the past, but nothing crazy, and wasn't really doing any cardio either. So we wanted to kind of make sure we had a really rounded approach to our exercise, and that's where the DEXA scans became really useful. Her main goal was to reduce body fat and kind of improve her physique back to kind of what it looked like in her early 20s. That was kind of her main goal coming through this. But she also wanted to get fitter and stronger, not having done any exercise for a while. My main point of view is that this had to be done gradually. She's an actuarial consultant, so a lot of her work is client facing, and also you're working on multiple projects at once. The last thing I wanted to do was deplete all of her energy, and that she wasn't able to kind of keep up with her work demands. Being in a calorie deficit can sometimes be all-consuming and really takes over everything going on in your life. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure that the deficit she was in was pretty small, just so that she's not actually distracted from what she has to do at work. So the deficit was roughly 250 calories a day, which if we look back, so she's lost 6 kilograms of fat in 6 months, which is the equivalent to 250 calorie deficit a day. So I think we stuck to that quite well. Now, Amelia loves to cook and is also really good at creating healthy meals without needing much of my help, which was a really big plus. But yeah, the main thing is I worked out the calories that she needs to be eating from the scans, which we'll go over in a minute. And she was able to come up with some amazing low-calorie, healthy meal options, which weren't too repetitive, weren't too basic, and felt like she wasn't even in a deficit most of the time. She said this was actually really easy. So how did we do it? Well, firstly, I got Amelia in to get a DEXA scan done as a baseline. That's where we worked out her initial body fat percentage. I'll insert a recording here of me going through her DEXA scan and kind of the reasons to how I used it to create her training programs and her nutritional guidance. Okay, so I have got Amelia's composition here, so this is the first scan that we did. We worked out that she was 34.5% body fat, which is 2.5% outside of this ideal range. We had a big distribution of fat towards her gynoid region, or like hips, thighs and bum. You know, most women sit that way anyway. And her visceral fat, so the fat around her organs, which is kind of the dangerous fat and stuff that gets elevated with stress, was 61.3 centimeters squared, which is fine, so we want it under 100. So apart from the subcutaneous fat being slightly raised, I know there wasn't any other underlying issues. Looking at her lean mass is her muscle, organs, and water. So your lean mass divided by your height gives us a comparative index, and it tells us if there's enough muscle in your skeleton. For women, we want that ideally above 16.8. 16.1 is just ever so slightly under for muscle mass. It's nothing too concerning. It's probably only about a kilogram or two. I think I did work it out in the end to be about that. So yeah, main thing kind of looking at this was I wanted to really make sure we preserve her lean mass, make sure we're not going too harsh in a calorie deficit, and that we're eating enough protein. So, first time you were here, your overall weight on the scales was 66 kilograms, and now that's down to 59. So we've got just under a 7 kilogram difference in mass. And that is from 5.3 kilograms of fat loss and 1.7 kilograms of lean mass loss, which is pretty good going.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit of lean mass loss that can come from obviously water weight, cutting carbs a little bit. There's going to be less glycogen, and you know there's always a risk that you're going to lose a little bit of muscle anyway.
So it doesn't necessarily mean I've lost like 1.7 kilograms of muscle.
No, yeah, exactly. Okay. It might just be water weight. It also depends on where it's coming from. Body fat percentage was 34.5% when we first started, and in 6 months it's down to 29.6.
Nice, under 30.
Yeah, under 30. 5% difference, which is awesome. When it came to training, we actually kept it quite varied. The main thing I wanted to do was make sure she found a routine that she would stick to, that she enjoyed, and would just get her moving. In an ideal world, yes, I would have been having her at the gym 4 to 5 days a week, especially with her low bone density, but I just knew she wasn't going to stick to that. So her weekly overview of exercise was 1 upper body session, 1 lower body session, 30 minutes of incline walking on the treadmill before work, 1 morning a week, 1 reformer Pilates class, and 1 Zumba class as well. She has a gym literally underneath her office, like it's in her office building, so I really wanted her to take advantage of the classes that they provide for her. And yeah, it was pretty easy to get her to go do some morning cardio before work. Her 2 gym sessions were very much hypertrophy based at this point. I knew she was going to be in a calorie deficit and her muscle mass was already slightly outside of ideal range, that I wanted to keep the rep range as high to retain as much lean mass as possible. And guys, the workouts that I set for her really weren't anything transformational. It was literally just doing the basics, making sure you do them in a good quality rep range, lifting to some sort of failure, and just doing it week in, week out. That's literally what it takes, guys. She did, however, have quite a big imbalance of muscle in her left and right leg, which we added a few single leg exercises into her routine as well to try and diminish that muscular imbalance. And why the others? So I wanted 2 sort of steady-ish cardio sessions a week. Zumba class is amazing for that and she loves it, so that was the main thing. And reformer Pilates is something Amelia's been doing for years, and I know it's something she enjoys. It's great for her core, her stability, and overall, no harm adding it into a week. I'll give you 5 things that we didn't do, and these are things that I recommend to all my female clients who have demanding jobs where they are constantly stressed. Number 1, we didn't do fasting. I'm not a fan of women working very demanding jobs not eating until 1 p.m. Cortisol spikes in the morning to wake you up. Usually you have to eat something for that to go back down. So if you are not, it is just constantly elevated, which means stress management becomes a lot harder. Number 2, we did not cut out carbs. Cutting out carbohydrates when you're already in a calorie deficit is going to A, lose your muscle mass, which makes it harder to stay in the calorie deficit itself. B, make you feel awful, which means you are not going to be able to do your work how you're supposed to be outputting. 3, we didn't do loads of HIIT sessions a week. HIIT is something you can absolutely introduce when the time is right, not in this scenario where she doesn't really do any exercise yet. We're already in a calorie deficit and she's already just gone through the most stressful period of her life. Not the time. Number 4, I didn't up the training sessions to 6 or 7 days a week. 5 was the absolute max, and even then she didn't always stick to 5 sessions a week, and that's okay. There were some weeks where if she's had clients that are on UK time zone, for example, meaning she would have to either continue working really late or start really early. Work has to take priority sometimes. If there were days where she couldn't fit a gym session in, for example, we move on, it's okay. And number 5, we didn't take away from her social life or her holidays. Now, benefits of working in the corporate world is she gets quite a lot of annual leave, and good on her for using it to go on many holidays a year. And because we made this entire journey of hers enjoyable, she actually was very willing to go to the gym on holiday, which was amazing. Really encouraging to see that if you create exercise programs that are enjoyable and individualized, that they actually want to carry on doing it because it makes them feel good even on holiday. So where are we going from here? So you've seen her DEXA scan results, which I showed you already. There is a family history of having slightly low bone density anyway, but we know her bone density is something that we really do want to prioritise. We've spoken about it quite a lot. She's currently taking vitamin D, and now we're going to focus on trying to build muscle, build strength, prioritise our strength training again.
Okay.
I feel like you've not been doing much leg gym though.
No, I hate leg day, honestly. Yeah. My arch never said.
We need to get it going a bit
That's
more.
interesting though, because they're more symmetrical now.
Yeah, they are more symmetrical now, yeah. If she was going to skip a session a week, she would skip the leg day at the gym because that's her least favourite. Now, realistically, that's the one that I really want her to keep the most out of everything throughout the week. So instead, what I'm going to do is split her leg exercises over 3 days and just do some full body splits instead. If you have any questions about the video, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer any of those. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.